Hello everyone. Today we are discussing about the anatomy of the knee joint. First we will discuss the anatomy and later we can discuss the frequently asked MCQ questions. So let us begin with today's topic. So as you all can see here, this is the knee joint. So the knee joint is formed by the condyles of the femur, the condyles of the tibia and the patella. So if you observe here, there are three primitive joint cavities which form this joint, namely the condylar joint between the femur and the tibia and the joint between the patella and the femur. Furthermore, you can see here that there is a partition here which is called as menisci, and this is made up of a fibrocartilage. So this menisci divides the joint cavity into two compartments. As we can see here, it divides the joint cavity into two compartments. The cavity present above the meniscus and below the femur is called as meniscofemoral compartment, and mainly flexion and extension will occur here in this compartment. And the lower compartment below the meniscus and the tibia is called as meniscotibial compartment, and mainly rotatory movements will occur in this compartment. So all these features together make knee joint a compound and complex synovial joint. So these are the features of the knee joint. In this slide, we will see the articular surfaces. You can observe here the condyles of the femur. Then this is for the patellar articular surface, and this is the condyles of the tibia which participates in formation of the knee joint, and this is the posterior surface of the patella. So these are the articular surfaces. In this slide, we can see that the articular surfaces are covered by hyaline cartilage. So this is the hyaline cartilage here. Now several questions have been repeatedly asked on the ligaments of the knee joint. So we will discuss all the ligaments of the knee joint, which will help us solve the MCQ questions later. So first we'll discuss about the capsular ligament. So this capsular ligament, it completely encloses the knee joint. It is deficient at two places. As you can see here, this is the anterior aspect of femur, posterior aspect of femur, anterior aspect of tibia, posterior aspect of the tibia. These dotted lines represents the attachment of the capsular ligament. As you can see here, on the anterior aspect of the femur, the capsular ligament is deficient just above the articular surface of the patella. So it is deficient in this place here, and it is also deficient on the posterior aspect of the tibia, that is on the posterior aspect of lateral condyle of the tibia for the passage of tendon of popliteus. So these are the two places where the capsular ligament is deficient. In this slide, we will discuss the next ligament, which is the ligamentum patella. Now there are four muscles which are together called as quadriceps femoris. So the four muscles are, we have the rectus femoris, then we have vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, then we have vastus intermedius. All these four muscles together are called as quadriceps femoris. Quadriceps means 4. That is why it's called as quadriceps femoris. So you can see here, this is the rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, vastus intermedius, and beneath the rectus femoris will be vastus intermedius. So these muscles will form a tendon. It will form a tendon, and this tendon is called as ligamentum patella, whose attachment is from the apex of the patella till the tibial tuberosity. You can appreciate it in this diagram. Ligamentum patella attaches from apex of the patella to the upper smooth aspect of the tibial tuberosity. So that was about ligamentum patella. In this slide, we will discuss about the tibial collateral ligament. So as the name suggests, tibial collateral ligament. If this question is asked, tibial means this ligament should be attached to the tibia. So tibia is the medial bone of the leg. So this ligament should be present somewhere on the medial aspect of the knee joint, right? So this tibial collateral ligament, let us see the attachment of this. As already discussed, this is the fibula, this is the lateral aspect, and this is the medial aspect. So the attachment, proximal attachment of the tibial collateral ligament will be to the medial epicondyle of the femur, just below the adductor tubercle. And distally, as it passes down, what happens to this tibial collateral ligament is it splits into superficial and the deep parts. The superficial part will be attached to the upper medial surface of the tibia, whereas the deep part, what happens to the deep part is it blends with the capsule of the knee joint and also it attaches to the medial menisci of the knee joint. It is because of this attachment of the tibial collateral ligament to the medial meniscus. The medial meniscus is more prone for injury. This is an MCQ question. Which menisci is more prone for injury? It is the medial menisci because of its attachment to the tibial collateral ligament. Thereby its movements are restricted and there are more chances of it being crushed during extremes of the movement of the knee joint. So that was about the tibial collateral ligament. This tibial collateral ligament, it is a morphological remnant of a muscle and that muscle is called as adductor magnus. As you all know, adductor magnus muscle has two components. One is the ischial component and the other is the adductor component. So the ischial component of the adductor magnus muscle will arise from the ischial tuberosity of the hip bone, mainly this part. So here the ischial part of the adductor magnus muscle will arise. So the tibial collateral ligament is actually a morphological remnant of ischial component of the adductor magnus muscle. Let us look into it in detail. Now what happened is, before we assumed an upright posture, what happened was the adductor magnus, which component? Ischial component, that was actually attached to the upper medial surface of the tibia. But once we assumed an upright posture, its insertion shifted above to the femur and it got attached to the adductor tubercle. If you see here, adductor magnus is attached to the adductor tubercle of the femur. So this part of the muscle got converted into a ligament and that ligament is called as tibial collateral ligament. So this was about the tibial collateral ligament, which is a morphological remnant of ischial component of the adductor magnus muscle. Now this is a very frequently asked MCQ question. So if anything is asked about this tibial collateral ligament or also sometimes called as medial collateral ligament because this ligament is present on the medial side of the knee joint. So what to remember about this tibial collateral ligament is its morphological remnant of ischial component of adductor magnus is the first point. The second point is that it is attached to the medial meniscus, thereby rendering the medial meniscus more prone to get injured. So that was about the tibial collateral ligament. Next, we will discuss about the fibular collateral ligament. Now fibula is the bone, laterally placed bone in the leg. So obviously this ligament should be present lateral to the knee joint. So this ligament is placed laterally. Let us see its attachment. It is attached to the lateral epicondyle of the femur and it is attached to the styloid process of the fibula. It is embraced by tendon of a muscle which is called as biceps femoris. So that was the attachment of fibular collateral ligament. And this ligament is morphological remnant of a muscle which is present in lateral compartment of the leg. This muscle is called as peroneus longus muscle. So the same thing once again, before we assumed an upright posture, the attachment of this peroneus longus muscle was onto the lateral epicondyle of the femur. But once we assumed upright posture, its attachment shifted down to the fibula for functional reasons, and this part of the muscle got converted into a ligament, and that ligament is called as fibular collateral ligament. So tibial collateral ligament was a morphological remnant of ischial component of adductor magnus muscle, and fibular collateral ligament is morphological remnant of a muscle which is called as peroneus longus. Unlike the tibial collateral ligament which is attached to the medial menisci, fibular collateral ligament is not attached to the lateral menisci. Thereby, lateral menisci, because of several other features which we will discuss later, it escapes injury many times and it is considered safe when compared to that of the medial meniscus, which is more prone to injury. So this is an MCQ question. In this slide, we will discuss another ligament. So far we have discussed capsular ligament, we have discussed the tibial collateral ligament, we have discussed the fibular collateral ligament. Now we will discuss the oblique popliteal ligament. If this question is asked, this ligament, it is oblique in direction. It is present in the popliteal region. That is why it is called as oblique popliteal ligament. So this is the oblique popliteal ligament if you see here. Actually, this ligament is from a muscle which is called as semimembranosus. You all will be knowing by now, this is a hamstring muscle. So this semimembranosus, after its insertion onto the tibia, on the posterior aspect of the medial condyle of the tibia, what happens is, it sends an expansion obliquely upwards to the lateral condyle of the femur and the intercondylar line. This ligament is called as oblique popliteal ligament. So question will be asked, this is derived from which muscle? Your answer will be semimembranosus. So oblique popliteal ligament is derived from semimembranosus. Now one more MCQ question which will be frequently asked is that this oblique popliteal ligament will be pierced by a blood vessel. So a blood vessel will pierce the oblique popliteal ligament. It will enter the knee joint and it will supply a ligament which is called as cruciate ligament. We will discuss that later. So this is the middle genicular artery, which is a branch of the popliteal artery. So this middle genicular artery pierces the oblique popliteal ligament, enters the knee joint, and it will supply cruciate ligament. This is an MCQ question. In this slide, we will discuss the menisci. As already discussed, menisci, it is made up of fibrocartilage. This is also an MCQ question. Menisci is made up of the fibrocartilage. If you see here, this is the menisci which is C-shaped. So these are the menisci. We have two menisci. One is the medial menisci and the other is the lateral menisci. Furthermore, we can see that it has two borders. So, this is the inner avascular margin, which is concave, and this is the outer highly vascular margin, which is convex. Again, one more MCQ question. The inner concave margin is avascular and it receives its nutrition from the synovium present here, whereas the outer peripheral convex margin is highly vascular. It gets its vascularity from the blood vessels which ramify over the capsule. So this was about the menisci. It is made up of fibrocartilage, which is an MCQ question. The inner concave margin is avascular and receives its nutrition from the synovium. Outer convex margin is highly vascular and it receives its blood supply from the vessels which ramify over the capsule. So that was about the menisci. We have two menisci, lateral menisci and the medial menisci. You can see that they are C-shaped. In this slide, you can see that, as already discussed, the menisci divided the joint cavity into two compartments. Upper compartment in between the menisci and the femur is called as meniscofemoral compartment. This region where mainly flexion and extension occur, and the lower compartment between the menisci and the tibia was called as meniscotibial compartment, wherein rotatory movements occurred. We also discussed that the medial meniscus, this is fibula, so this is lateral aspect, this is lateral meniscus, this is medial meniscus. We have also discussed that the medial meniscus was attached to, can you appreciate how it is attached? Was attached to the tibial collateral ligament, thereby it was more prone to injury. Now we will also see about the lateral menisci. If you observe here, the lateral menisci is not attached to the fibula collateral ligament. It is separated from the fibula collateral ligament by tendon of popliteus. This is the tendon of popliteus which separates the fibula collateral ligament from the lateral menisci. Thereby, the lateral menisci is safe. It is not more prone to injury, unlike the medial menisci. We will further discuss the factors which will protect the lateral meniscus from being crushed by the movements of the knee joint. So what are the factors which protect the lateral menisci? As you can see here, there is a ligament which attaches the lateral meniscus to the lateral condyle of the femur. It is this ligament here. So, looking at the direction, we can name this ligament. This is called as meniscofemoral ligament, attaching the menisci to the femur. That is why it is called as meniscofemoral ligament. This meniscofemoral ligament, it has two bands, anterior band and the posterior band. You can see here, this is the posterior aspect of the tibia and the fibula. So, this is the meniscofemoral ligament connecting the lateral menisci to the lateral condyle of the femur. So, since this is the posterior aspect, this is the posterior band of the meniscofemoral ligament. Anterior band will be in the front. What you see here, that is called as posterior cruciate ligament. We will be discussing it later. So this meniscofemoral ligament, it has two bands, anterior band, posterior band, and they embrace a ligament. That ligament is called as posterior cruciate ligament. So the anterior band will pass in front of the posterior cruciate ligament. Posterior band will pass behind the posterior cruciate ligament. Let us see how this meniscofemoral ligament will protect the lateral menisci. Now what happens is when you extend the knee joint. So when you extend the knee joint, this lateral meniscus, this meniscofemoral ligament, it will pull the lateral meniscus backwards during extension of the knee joint and thereby protects it from getting crushed. There is one more factor, that is the tendon of popliteus. The tendon of popliteus. So what happens is this tendon of popliteus, it also protects the lateral meniscus from getting crushed during the movement of the flexion of the knee joint. So once again, quickly we will discuss about the meniscofemoral ligament. As already discussed, the meniscofemoral ligament attaches the lateral meniscus to the lateral condyle of the femur. It has two bands, one anterior band and posterior band. So they pass in front and back of the posterior cruciate ligament. Now what is the function of meniscofemoral ligament is that it protects the lateral meniscus. How does it protect the lateral meniscus? So during extension of the knee joint, this meniscofemoral ligament actually pushes the lateral meniscus forward and protects it from being crushed during extension of the knee joint. Further, you have the tendon of popliteus. So this tendon of popliteus, during flexion, it pulls the lateral meniscus backwards and thereby prevents it from getting crushed during flexion of the knee joint. I think first I said the opposite. This is correct. Okay, so that is about the meniscofemoral ligament and tendon of popliteus, how they protect the lateral menisci. So this diagram was to show that this is the posterior cruciate ligament, this is a posterior aspect. So this is a posterior meniscofemoral ligament, this is the anterior meniscofemoral ligament. Anterior meniscofemoral ligament is also called as ligament of Humphrey. Posterior meniscofemoral ligament is also called as ligament of Risberg. Now we will discuss a very important, frequently asked MCQs, that is the cruciate ligament. So why is it called as cruciate ligament? These ligaments cross each other. That is why they are called as cruciate ligaments. There are two ligaments, anterior cruciate ligament and posterior cruciate ligament. Cruciate ligament because they cross each other, and anterior and posterior based on where they are located in the tibia. So you can see that these are the articular surface of the condyles of the tibia. Now in between the condyles of the tibia, there is an intercondylar area where several structures are attached. This is very important. We will discuss this in detail regarding what structures are attached. So in the intercondylar area, moving from anterior aspect to the posterior aspect. First, we will draw the menisci. As already discussed, menisci will be C-shaped. So this is the menisci. So this is the lateral menisci. This is the medial menisci. So the menisci will have two horns. One is the anterior horn which is placed anteriorly, and the one is the posterior horn which is placed posteriorly on the tibia. So moving from anterior to posterior aspect in the intercondylar area of tibia, we will first encounter the anterior horn of the medial meniscus. Then we will encounter the anterior cruciate ligament. So this anterior cruciate ligament is placed on the anterior aspect of the tibia. Then we will encounter the anterior horn of the lateral meniscus. So these are the three structures. Since many questions have been asked repeatedly, we will discuss it once again. So first we have the anterior horn of the medial meniscus. Then we have the anterior cruciate ligament. Then we have anterior horn of the lateral meniscus. Then we have posterior horn of lateral meniscus, posterior horn of the medial meniscus, then we have posterior cruciate ligament. So these are the structures present in the intercondylar area of the tibia. So these cruciate ligaments are called anterior and posterior based on their location in the tibia. So anterior cruciate ligament is present anteriorly, posterior cruciate ligament is present posteriorly on the tibia. That is why they are called as anterior cruciate ligament and posterior cruciate ligament. Now let us see about these cruciate ligaments. As already discussed, this is the anterior aspect of the tibia. So this ligament here which is present on the anterior aspect is called as anterior cruciate ligament. So this anterior cruciate ligament, it passes upwards, it passes backwards and it passes laterally. Fibula is here, it passes laterally and it gets attached to the lateral condyle of the femur. This is the medial condyle. So frequently asked MCQ, anterior cruciate ligament is attached to which condyle of femur? Your answer will be lateral condyle of the femur. Furthermore, this is the lateral surface of lateral condyle. This is the medial surface of the lateral condyle. If you can appreciate, the anterior cruciate ligament is attached to the medial surface of the lateral condyle of the femur. Which end? It is not the anterior end, it is the posterior end of the femur. We will discuss it once again because several MCQs have been asked on this. Anterior cruciate ligament, it is placed in the anterior aspect of the tibia. It passes upwards, backwards, laterally. It is attached to the medial aspect of lateral condyle of the femur on the posterior end, not the anterior end. Okay, so that is about the anterior cruciate ligament. If you observe here, this is the posterior cruciate ligament, and if you appreciate, both the ligaments are crossing each other. So this posterior cruciate ligament, as you already discussed in the previous slide, it arises from posterior aspect of the tibia. The fibers will pass upwards, backwards, medially, and it is attached to the lateral surface of the medial condyle of the femur, where onto the anterior end. So that is about the cruciate ligament, anterior cruciate ligament and the posterior cruciate ligament. So we will discuss it further when we talk about the MCQs. So this was to show the anterior and the posterior cruciate ligament. So the blood supply of the anterior cruciate ligament, we already discussed that the oblique popliteal ligament was pierced by a blood vessel. So that was the middle genicular artery, branch of popliteal artery, which pierced the oblique popliteal ligament, entered the knee joint and it supplied the cruciate ligament. This is an MCQ question. Now we will discuss the next ligament, that is the coronary ligament. So again, this is an MCQ question. We know that the knee joint is surrounded by capsular ligament. That part of the capsular ligament near the menisci gets thickened to form a ligament which is called as coronary ligament. This coronary ligament will attach the menisci to the tibia. So this is an MCQ question. Next we have the synovial membrane. As you all know, synovial membrane will line the inner aspect of the capsule except the articular surfaces covered by the hyaline cartilage. So except that, it surrounds the inner aspect of the capsule of the knee joint. Now there is an MCQ question which is frequently asked. You can see here the blue color dotted line is the capsular ligament. The red color dotted line is the synovial membrane. So the synovial membrane, let us trace the synovial membrane. So This is the attachment of the synovial membrane on the inner aspect of the capsule. If you observe here, this is the anterior aspect, this is the posterior aspect. So we saw that there was a anterior cruciate ligament here, posterior cruciate ligament here. So there's an MCQ question asked here. Cruciate ligaments are intracapsular because they are within the capsule, and extrasynovial because they are not inside the synovial membrane. They are outside. That is why they are called as intracapsular and extrasynovial. We'll discuss this when we discuss the MCQ question. Now the next very important topic is locking and unlocking mechanism of the knee joint. Before we go into that, let us see these are the condyles of the femur. If you appreciate here, the antero-posterior diameter of the lateral condyle is comparatively less than the antero-posterior diameter of the medial condyle. Let us see what happens because of this. Now usually when you extend the knee joint, so when do you say that the knee joint is extended? When the anterior aspect of the thigh and the anterior aspect of the leg are both in the same plane, you say that the knee joint is in complete extension. So when we stand straight, our knee joint is locked. So it's in this locking position, all the ligaments are very taut and they prevent us from falling. Now, from this extended knee, if you want to flex your knee, you have to unlock the knee joint. So, unlocking occurs during flexion, locking occurs during extension of the knee joint. So, let us just see that if you want to extend a flexed knee joint, what happens is, in the final 15 to 20 degree of extension, what happens is the knee joint gets locked so that you don't fall. Let us see what exactly happens. So, if you want to extend the knee joint from the flexed position, in the final 15 to 20 degree of extension, the knee joint gets locked. So what do you mean by that is, the femur rotates medially over the fixed tibia. So that is known as locking of the knee joint. So what happens? The femur rotates medially or also internally over the fixed tibia. That is known as locking of the knee joint, which helps you stand straight without losing your balance. Now what do you mean by unlocking? Now, if you want to flex an extended knee joint, in the initial degree of flexion, the knee joint gets unlocked so that you bring about movement, right? So what happens is the opposite, that is, the femur will rotate externally or laterally over the fixed tibia. That is called as unlocking. Medial rotation of femur over the fixed tibia is locking. Lateral rotation of femur over the fixed tibia is unlocking. The muscles which help in locking and unlocking of the knee joint. For locking, the muscle which helps in locking is vastus medialis. Unlocking muscle is called as popliteus. So popliteus helps in unlocking. So this was about the locking and unlocking of the knee joint when the foot is planted on the ground. So as already discussed, when your foot is on the ground, locking is brought by vastus medialis. What is locking? Medial rotation of femur over the fixed tibia. What is unlocking? Lateral rotation of the femur over the fixed tibia. The muscle which helps in unlocking is the popliteus. So locking of the knee joint helps you stand stiff, prevents you from falling. unlocking of the knee joint helps you to bring about movement. So during walking, you flex your knee joint and then you extend. So to bring about movement, unlocking of the knee joint occurs, and to stand stiff, locking of the knee joint will occur. So again, this was to show about the extension and flexion of the knee joint. This slide we can see that popliteus muscle helps in unlocking the knee joint. For locking it was vastus medialis. So far we discussed about locking and unlocking of the knee joint when the foot was on the ground. Now we will see when the foot is off the ground. If you can appreciate here, if you want to sit down and extend your knee joint is extended when the anterior aspect of the thigh, anterior aspect of the leg are in the same plane. So this is the extension of the knee joint. So when the foot is off the ground, the foot is not touching the ground, what do you mean by locking of the knee joint? Reverse will occur here. We will discuss it. What happens during locking when the foot is not on the ground? So that time the tibia will rotate laterally over the fixed femur. That is called as locking. Unlocking means tibia will rotate medially over the fixed femur. So when your foot is on the ground, femur rotates. When the foot is off the ground, tibia rotates. So that is about the locking and unlocking mechanism. Now we will discuss about the bursas in relation to the knee joint. The most important bursa in between the skin and the patella is called as prepatellar bursa, and one more bursa, subcutaneous intrapatellar bursa. These are clinically very important. We will discuss it later. Now you all would have observed the housemaids when they kneel and they try to mop the floor. What happens is sometimes the prepatellar bursa gets inflamed and it is called as prepatellar bursitis. It is also called as housemaid's knee. And another clinical aspect of the subcutaneous intrapatellar bursa is that you would have observed the priest in the church, they kneel down and they pray. So sometimes what happens, the intrapatellar bursa gets inflamed in those who frequently are habitually they kneel down. Okay, so that is called as subcutaneous intrapatellar bursitis, also known as clergyman's knee. So prepatellar bursa is known as housemaid's knee. Intrapatellar bursa is called as clergyman's knee. You can see here, this is the prepatellar bursa seen in housemaids who kneel to mop the floor. Whereas the clergyman knee, it is the inflammation of the intrapatellar bursa. Intrapatellar bursa and prepatellar bursa. Now, let us solve some of the MCQ question. As already discussed, clergyman's knee is inflammation of. Clergyman, these are referred to people who frequently kneel down, as in case of church when they kneel down to pray. So in these people, what happens is the intrapatellar bursa is more prone for injury. So clergyman's knee, it is inflammation of the intrapatellar bursa. So we will explain the answer. Clergyman's knee is inflammation of the intrapatellar bursa. Now what is this anserine bursa? You can see here the insertion of sartorius, gracilis and semitendinosus onto the upper medial surface of the tibia. So you can observe here that the tendons of sartorius, gracilis and semitendinosus, they are attached to the upper medial aspect of the tibia. So in between their attachment and the tibia, there will be a bursa. That bursa is called as anserine bursa. So clergyman's knee has nothing to do with the anserine bursa. The answer is ruled out. Prepatellar bursa we already discussed. It is seen in, that bursitis is seen in housemaids. Suprapatellar bursa also is not involved in this. The answer will be intrapatellar bursa. We will discuss the next question. The blood supply of the anterior cruciate ligament is primarily derived from. So when you read this question, there's something called the anterior cruciate ligament. So when you read this, you will first remember the cruciate ligament, namely anterior cruciate ligament and posterior cruciate ligament. They're asking about the blood supply. We have already discussed that there was an oblique popliteal ligament which was an expansion from semimembranosus. A vessel pierced this oblique popliteal ligament, entered the knee joint and supplied the cruciate ligament. That vessel is called as middle genicular artery, which is a branch of popliteal artery. We will see the slide. Yes, so the blood supply of anterior cruciate ligament is mainly from the middle genicular artery, which is a branch of popliteal artery. It pierces the oblique popliteal ligament, enters the knee joint and supplies the cruciate ligaments. Now we will discuss the next MCQ. Anterior cruciate ligament originates from. We already discussed that it is called as anterior if it is attached on the anterior aspect of intercondylar area of the tibia. So let us rule out the option. Posterior part of the intercondylar area of tibia, that should be the posterior cruciate ligament, not the anterior cruciate ligament. Anterior part of the intercondylar area is the correct answer. So medial part of medial femoral condyle is wrong answer. Lateral part of lateral femoral condyle is also wrong answer. So ACL originates from the anterior aspect of intercondylar area of the tibia. This is the correct answer. So after arising, it gets inserted onto the lateral condyle of the femur on the posterior end. Now we will discuss the next question, that is, a healthy young athlete sitting on a table with the knee at 90-degree flexion. What will happen when the knee is fully extended? So you have to imagine an athlete sitting on a table and extending the knee joint. So the foot is off the ground, extension of the knee joint. So off the foot, off the ground, extension of the knee joint. The locking of the knee joint when the foot is off the ground is tibia will rotate laterally over the fixed femur. That should be the answer. So the movement of tibial tuberosity towards the medial border of patella is wrong. So here they are meaning that the tibia is moving medially. That is not the answer. Movement of tibial tuberosity towards the lateral border of patella. This is correct because they are meaning that tibia rotates laterally. Movement of tibial tuberosity towards the center of patella, no change in relationship. The answer will be movement of tibial tuberosity towards the lateral side of the patella. So you can imagine that a young athlete sitting on the table and trying to extend the knee joint. The foot is off the ground. So locking means the rotation, lateral rotation of tibia over the fixed femur. So your answer is this one. Now in this MCQ we will see anterior cruciate ligament prevents. We already know that the anterior cruciate ligament is attached to anterior aspect of the tibia. So naturally what happens is during extension, this ligament prevents hyperextension of the knee joint and thereby prevents anterior dislocation of the tibia. And since this ligament is attached to posterior end of the lateral condyle of the femur, it also prevents posterior dislocation of the femur. So in this slide you can see ACL prevents because it is attached to anterior aspect of the tibia. It prevents anterior dislocation of tibia during extension, and because it is attached to the posterior end of the lateral condyle of the femur, it also prevents posterior dislocation of the femur. The truth statement about the posterior cruciate ligament. So when you say posterior cruciate ligament, let us solve this. It is attached to lateral femoral condyle. We know that To the lateral femoral condyle, anterior cruciate ligament is attached, not the posterior cruciate ligament. Is it intrasynovial? We already discussed that the cruciate ligaments are extrasynovial. They are not intrasynovial. It prevents the posterior dislocation of tibia. Yes, because posterior cruciate ligament is attached to posterior aspect of the tibia. That is why during flexion, it prevents the posterior dislocation of tibia. It is relaxed in full flexion. No, posterior cruciate ligament. It is actually taut during flexion. And anterior cruciate ligament is taut during extension. So this was to show that the posterior cruciate ligament is attaching to the posterior aspect of the tibia. It is not intrasynovial, it will be extrasynovial because it is outside the synovial membrane. It prevents the posterior dislocation of tibia because it is attached to the posterior end of the tibia, and this is taut during flexion, not relaxed. True about medial menisci. It is made up of hyaline cartilage? No, it is made up of fibrocartilage. Injury to lateral meniscus is more frequent than medial meniscus? No. Medial meniscus is more prone to injury because of its attachment to tibial collateral ligament. The lateral meniscus is more safe because of the tendon of popliteus and meniscofemoral ligament, which will protect the lateral meniscus from getting crushed. It is C-shaped. Yes, the menisci is C-shaped. It is fixed to the medial or the tibial collateral ligament. Yes. Inner part is more vascular. Wrong. Inner part is avascular. It gets its nutrition from the synovium. So your answer will be it is C-shaped and it is fixed to the medial collateral ligament. So we will solve this once again. The medial meniscus is C-shaped. That's the answer. It is not made up of hyaline cartilage. It is made up of fibrocartilage. Injury to lateral meniscus is more prone. No, lateral meniscus is very safe. It is medial meniscus because its attachment to the tibial collateral ligament is more prone to injury. It is C-shaped. Yes, it is C-shaped. Fixed to the medial collateral ligament. Inner part is more vascular. No, inner part is avascular and it gets its nutrition from the synovium. In this slide, we will discuss posterior dislocation of tibia on femur is prevented by posterior dislocation. Now, posterior cruciate ligament is attached to posterior aspect of the tibia. Anterior cruciate ligament is attached to anterior aspect of the tibia. So, the answer will be posterior dislocation of tibia on femur is prevented by posterior cruciate ligament. So, that is the answer you can see here. This is the posterior cruciate ligament which is attached to the posterior aspect of the tibia. So, that is the answer. The coronary ligament of the knee is situated in between. We discussed that the coronary ligament, what is that? The capsular ligament near the menisci of the knee joint, it gets thickened to form the coronary ligament. It attaches the menisci to the tibia. We have already discussed that. So the answer is meniscus and the tibial condyle. You can see here the capsular ligament near the menisci gets thickened to form the coronary ligament. It will attach the menisci to the tibia. That is the answer. Physiological locking involves. What is this physiological locking? When your foot is on the ground, locking means movement of the femur over the fixed tibia. When your foot is not on the ground, physiological locking means lateral rotation of tibia over the fixed femur. So, physiological locking involves internal or medial rotation of femur over the stabilized tibia. Correct. This is wrong. External rotation of tibia over stabilized femur, external rotation of femur. So, the answer when the foot is on the ground is this one. When the foot is off the ground is this one. So, you can see here when the foot is on the ground, what is locking? Medial rotation of femur over the fixed tibia. When the foot is off the ground, what is physiological locking? Lateral rotation of the tibia over the fixed femur. So these are the answer. Lateral rotation is called as external rotation. Medial rotation is called as internal rotation. Now the next question, oblique popliteal ligament is pierced by. We already discussed semimembranosus. After its insertion, it sent a ligament obliquely that was called as oblique popliteal ligament, which was pierced by a vessel which is called as middle genicular artery, which is a branch of popliteal artery. So your answer will be this one. So you can see here semimembranosus after its attachment is sending oblique popliteal ligament which is pierced by middle genicular artery, branch of the popliteal artery. In this slide we can see oblique popliteal ligament is extension from which muscle? Semimembranosus. So the answer is oblique popliteal ligament is from which muscle? Semimembranosus. So that was about today's class. So we have discussed about the anatomy of the knee joint and we have solved most of the MCQ questions which were frequently asked. Hope this class has helped you all. Thank you so much for listening to this video.